Hey, Zach, I'm online. I'm just going to close the door and I'll be back in a minute. We're going to start in about 3 minutes. If you have your Cornell notes, that'll be helpful. You can put your hand down, too. Are you writing me a note? Okay, I will give you a second. I'd make porridge if I was home too. I'm starving. Let me know when you're done, Zach, so we can start. So if you're just getting to the video, you should know that you have to kind of move along. All right, so this is probably the easiest lesson of the year, so I hope you're ready to be stunned and amazed. We're looking at parallel lines. So the first question I have are, what are parallel lines? So I don't know if Zach's having some porridge, so I don't know if he's going to want to talk or if he wants to answer me at all. But he's good. All right. So excellent, Zach. So what are parallel lines? Any thoughts on that? So parallel lines are, just think he's typing. He's typing, maybe he's got it. Are lines that are parallel to each other. So what that means is that parallel lines are two lines that run opposite to each other in a straight. They run along the same, sorry, not opposite. They run along in the same track, like railroad tracks. same distance apart, and they could go on forever and never cross. So they go along parallel to each other, which means that they're exactly the same distance apart no matter what part of the line you measure at. So what are some of the places in the world that we see parallel lines? There's quite a few, actually. Can you think of anything? Let's see if you can think of anything. Windows, actually, windows are a great example of parallel lines because they have to be absolutely straight for the window panes to be cut for them. Now, there's other places in life where we see parallel lines. One of them is, like I mentioned before, railroad tracks. Door frame, says Zach, which is absolutely true. So when you look at a door frame, it's exactly the same width apart either side, and top and bottom as well. And if you continue those lines from the door frame along to the moon, they would never cross. Train tracks are another one, and of course they have to be parallel because you think about the distance apart that the wheels on the train are. They're the exact same distance apart, front and back, so if the train tracks weren't parallel, then you might find that your train is derailing, and that wouldn't be very good. Other places you might see parallel lines. Along the frets of a guitar, there are parallel lines. Often when we see Olympic racing in swimming, the lane dividers run as parallel lines, and they're pretty picky about that. And even if you look at a ruler or a piece of paper, you can see parallel lines. All right, so we've been working a lot with graph paper lately. I'll just put up the graph paper I've got here, and we can see that there are parallel lines here going different ways. So this line here that I'm just drawing now, if I can draw it absolutely straight, is parallel to this line that I'm drawing absolutely straight. So those two lines, if they continued along off the paper, they would never meet. All right, and even if they're not, oh, Zach's applauding because I'm so fabulous with the tools. All right, so we're going to go back to our, can you think of any reason you might have to draw a parallel line? Now that's probably a more interesting thing. So in what way might we have to draw parallel lines? Zach's got an idea, so we're going to wait and see what he has to say. Yeah, building plans are one of the very biggest things. So if you're ever planning to build anything, whether it's a building or like when I had to do my the plans for my kayak, you have a lot of parallel lines that you have to draw, and they have to be absolutely accurate. So when I was making, I made a kayak a few years back, and I had to make forms. And on the forms, each piece of the form had to be exactly the same distance apart along a parallel line. And so there's actually some tools that you can get that will help you draw an absolutely straight line. But here we're going to learn a couple of ways you can do that. All right, so that got kicked off, which is too bad, but he'll be back. So there are two ways to make a parallel line that we're going to learn about. One about today, and then the other one we're going to learn when we're in class together, because if I try and explain it to you online, it's just going to get a little bit confusing. And it's to do with using your protractor, which is the thing that draws circles. So I want you to make sure that you can draw circles when you come in next time. Now a lot of you tried to do that with your protractor last time. That doesn't draw a circle, it draws a semicircle, and I'd like you to have a circle drawing tool. There was one in your math kit. All right, there's also a way, if you look at 317 on your textbook, there's also a way to use what they call a transparent mirror or a mira, M-I-R-A, to draw those. We don't have mirrors in the school. So if you do have a mirror or a transparent mirror, there's another way it works really lickety-split. But if you don't have one, glad to see you back, Zach. If you don't have a mirror or a transparent mirror, there's no point in learning that. So we don't have them. I know, they kicked you out. All right, the other two ways are using your math set, and the first we'll use just a protractor. So I'm going to explain it, but I'm going to show you on my graph paper. So this will probably be the world's shortest class. I bet we don't get 10 minutes in today. All right, so here are the steps. So we are going to use a ruler to draw a line. This is important, as the line must be absolutely straight. So none of this, we're going to use a piece of graph paper and just kind of sketch along it. You have to have an absolutely straight line in order to draw a parallel line. So I want you to use a pencil and a ruler and draw one straight line. And you can call that line AB if you like. Then, using a protractor, you're going to mark a 90-degree point at two places above the straight line. And then you're going to join the two lines using a ruler. And this is the easiest way to do this. So I'm going to go to my graph paper that we saw at first, and we're going to explain this. So the first thing that we're going to do, and I'm going to clear off this page. Just wanted to make sure I could draw straight lines. So I'm going to use my line drawing tool, which is here, and I'm going to start at point A, and I'm going to draw an absolutely straight line to point B. Now, I don't need to use a protractor on this page to get a 90-degree angle. Can you tell me why? Any thoughts on that, Zach? Why I don't have to use a protractor to get a 90-degree angle? Because the lines are there. That's absolutely right. So say I'm going to set my protractor in two places on this line. So this line is called AB. A is here, and B is here. AB, and I'm going to put little dots on the end to show that. Now, at a couple of places on the line, I'm going to place my protractor at 90 degrees. So say one of them was here. My protractor ended up being at 90 degrees right here. All right? And so I'm going to draw a dot. So I'll use my sun, Mr. Sun, to kind of draw the shape of a protractor going up to that part. Okay? Because I can't use a protractor on mine. So you can see that it comes straight down. And we know that using a protractor, the 90-degree angle is the absolute center angle. So I've got a protractor sitting in front of me on the desk. And the the very degree middle of that protractor is your 90-degree angle. So you would set your protractor on the line, and you would mark that middle one. Now I'm going to set my protractor in a different place on the line, and I'm going to find that, oh, right here is where my other 90-degree angle is going to be. So I'm going to draw my fake, use my suns to show you my fake protractor that I did there. There we go. So I set my protractor on the line. I had the 0 going towards the A. It went over the end of the line a little bit, but it was okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, and of course you can do this using graph paper. So if you've got graph paper at home, it makes it easier. So I am going to draw a line that is parallel to AB, and I'm going to call that CD. At no point in the universe, if I kept this going, went out the school window, went around the world and came back the other side of the school, there is no way these two lines would meet, not if they were drawn accurately. Okay? So I've had kids before go, oh, well, you know, these lines met, but they didn't use a ruler to draw them. All right? It's this half circle. All right? So if you don't have one at home, you've got time to grab yours out of your math set tomorrow and just draw your two parallel lines. So I've perfectly constructed two parallel lines because I joined those two lines, and I can see that the angle between here, the angle in the two lines, and I'm going to draw them out so you can see, are exactly 90 degrees. All right. Oh, that wasn't a straight line. I got to get rid of that. No non-straight lines here tonight. All right. So my line here, I'm going to draw one here and one there, and you see that that makes a perfect square where the lines meet. So here, and I'm going to circle that, is my 90-degree angle, and you can see the same thing happens here, and those are not straight, sorry guys, here and here. So anywhere that we can make a square where the two lines connect, you know that you've got a 90-degree angle. So those are four 90-degree angles, so we know we have parallel lines. So that's the one easy way of doing parallel lines. Now you can also use perpendicular bisectors, but since you don't know what those are, what we use is our compass to draw some semicircles around, and where those semicircles touch in a perpendicular bisector, then we'll be able to get a perfectly parallel line. So I'm going to teach you both those ways on the test. If you know this way, that's good enough. And if you know this way and you don't have a protractor on the test, well, at least you'll be able to draw two parallel lines because you'll know they're exactly the same distance apart. Okay? Oops. All right. Now, in class on Friday, we are going to do the other way using a perpendicular bisector, which makes it kind of fun, but you have to have a compass and a ruler. Both of those things are necessary. If you don't have them for class Friday, it's going to be a pain. So if you don't have one and you come to school Friday, make sure you talk to someone from the other class, or Mrs. Botter's class or Mrs. Payton's class, to make sure that you have your own, because last time I said we needed protractors and at least 7 people in each class didn't have them. So this time you need to actually have a compass, because I've only got 2, and everybody needs to be doing this at the same time or it's going to be confusing. So here's your homework. Draw a line segment using a ruler. Mark 2 90-degree points above the line and make a parallel line. So if you don't have graph paper so that you can be absolutely precise, then you need to find somewhere in your house a protractor that will allow you to mark those 2 90-degree lines, okay? Like I just did. All right? So you can absolutely do like I did on graph paper, but you make sure you draw those lines very carefully, because in order to be parallel, they have to be exactly the same distance apart. All right? So Zach, when you're done, you can just sign out. The homework's pretty easy this time. Have a good day.